Are we live? Are we live? I believe we're live. I hope we're live. Okay. Hello, beautiful souls. Good evening. I apologize for the brightness. Let's see if we can control that. Um, if you're out there and you can hear me and we're coming through, if you can just go ahead and type in the chat that everything is working on your end, that the audio is working and that the video is working and you actually can see or hear me. So I've done things in the past where I spent a half hour, an hour talking and realizing I was talking to no one because the video and the audio wasn't working. So if you could do that, I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Now, if you're watching this on a replay tomorrow or the next day, what I invite you to do is to simply fast forward so you see me talking, because we're going to have to work out the bugs. If you're part of our community, you've noticed that I've kind of let you know that, right? That there may be some bugs on this. So this is the first one. This is kind of like a trial run. So I just want to make sure that you can hear me. So I'm just going to check in because I'm going to be honest. I have my wife watching upstairs to make sure that everything okay. And she says we're all good to go. So cool. All right. So we're just going to jump right in. So before we start, and we know some people will be jumping in as we go, and that's absolutely fine. So I have an intention for this, right? So before we do anything, I just want you to take a deep, deep breath and just relax. Well, no matter what's going on in your world, just let it go for the next half hour, 45 minutes, however long we're going to be here. And just chill. And so what I want to do is I just want to erase the past, okay? Pretend like it never, ever, ever happened before. Now, we know it did, but we're going to pretend that it didn't. So there's a clean slate. And my intention for tonight is to help you understand, really get inside the mind of a man who truly is ready for a committed relationship. Like this guy is at a point in his life where he wants someone in his life. He wants an amazing, special woman. He's got no problem with committing to that woman. But in his heart, in his mind, he needs to know that this is the woman who is the right woman for him, the woman who's going to be the partner that he wants to share his life with. And those guys are completely different than a lot of the other guys out there. And I'll even give you that they're different than most guys out there. Okay, I'll give you that. I'm not going to disagree. Look, I've been a member of this male species for 59 years now. I know how my brothers act. Okay, so they're not going to get a pass. We're not talking about it. That's why we're erasing your memory. What we want to do is give you some insight, some understanding on how those commitment relationship guys truly roll. Okay, so that's the first thing we want to do. So what you need to understand is that these guys, they are out there. Just like you, they're looking for love. Just like you, they're frustrating with the whole dating scene. Because I know as a woman, you're watching this and you think, oh, men just have it so easy, right? I'm telling you, they really don't. You know, I always say the circus is the same, the clowns are different, right? These quality guys are out there and they're dating and they're looking for love. And they're just as frustrated. They're reaching out to women who never respond, right? They're going on dates with women and they think these dates are going well. And the women say, yeah, I'd love to go out again. And then when they reach out, they get ghosted, right? They have women who lead them on, women who misrepresent themselves, right? The same crap that you experience, these guys experience as well. But the difference is these guys aren't going to the bar with their buddies and saying, you know what, women suck. You know what, there's no good women out there. Because in their heart, in their mind, they know that they are out there and they only need one. Like that's where they're focused. These guys literally, they're like men on a mission. Like this is their mindset, like the horse with blinders on. And they're like, that's what I'm going for. I know that kind of woman exists. See her, she's out there. See plenty of examples in the world. But I'm not going to settle again. And we're going to get into why that is part of the mindset of the commitment-minded man. Okay? So they are out there and they are just as frustrated. And they're looking for that one special woman. And we'll get into that tonight. And when they find that one special woman, they're going to commit. Not because they have to, for no other reason, because they want to. Because just like you, they want someone special to share their life with. Because these guys don't have a problem with commitment. They don't have a problem with relationships. They don't have a problem with marriage. None of that. Okay, we're going to get more into detail with that tonight. So the first thing you need to understand is the journey that a man goes through in his life to get to the point where he says to himself, usually unconsciously, he usually doesn't say it out loud, but there's a knowing that, you know what, I've got a nice life, but I really want someone to share it with. Right? And again, the mindset of these guys are totally different. So this is how it works, is at this stage of his life, and if you're part of our community, you're probably in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, right? That seems to be where most women in our community hit that demographic. And so at this stage, these guys have had relationships. Most of them have been married, and they've made some mistakes. But these guys, and to be loved, that desire to be in a relationship, to have someone to share their life with, that's still in that guy's heart. But like most people, he didn't get an instruction manual. He did the best he could. They do the best they could, and they made some mistakes. They very often got into relationships with the wrong women for the wrong reasons. And so when they get to this point in their life, and very often, believe it or not, they've been hurt. And I know this is hard. It may be hard for you to believe, but when a man gets hurt, it really affects him. Again, he's not going to announce it to the world, right? He's not going to take his buddies out to the bar and cry in his beer, right? Because men are taught not to show their emotions because you're being vulnerable or you're being soft or you're being a wuss. Like, men have been indoctrinated with the belief is that, like, suppress your feelings, like keep them in. That's why the suicide rate is so much higher for men than it is for women, because men don't know how to process and deal with their emotions, and they stuff them and they keep them in. So these types of guys aren't going out in the world and lamenting on how difficult and how troublesome their life is. They just get to the point where they're like, you know what? I made some mistakes. I've learned from them. I see the error of my ways. I see what I need to do different. So these guys kind of become emotionally mature, right? They're not victims. They don't sit and blame their exes. Even if they made bad choices, they'll sit and go, okay, what was I thinking? What was my reasoning? What was the purpose I did this? And what did I do wrong? What could I do better? And sometimes these guys, I see it a lot with men because men are indoctrinated with, you got to grow up, you got to be the man of the house, right? You got to go and provide for your woman. You got to put food on the table, right? A lot of men have been indoctrinated with that belief, and they go and do that. But what happens is, in the process of being what they think is a good husband and a good father, they forget the emotional part. They forget how important it is to communicate to their wives, to be there, to love and support them. And very often these guys are so busy making money that when they come home, they emotionally check out. And these guys very often, when their wives leave them, go, uh-oh, I really effed that up. And that's part of their maturation process. So guys at this stage are at that point where they've learned from their past, they've grown, they've matured, and they want to be in a relationship. But the difference is they don't want to be in any relationship. They only want to be in a relationship with the right woman. And that's literally how they look at this. That's how they look at dating. That's why these quality guys, they do things totally different. Right? And we'll get into that. But again, like the horse with the blinders on, it's like, you know what? Relationship or bust, marriage or bust. Because they're open and they're ready for commitment. but they only want to do it with the right woman, right? So he gets to that point in his life where he says, look, it's a great relationship, a happy relationship, a healthy relationship with the right woman, or no relationship at all. Because at this point, that's how this guy looks at it. He's like, you know what? I've been there, done that, and it wasn't the greatest. You know, I use this analogy. For a lot of guys, marriage and committed relationships are like food poisoning. It's like they went to a restaurant and they got food poisoning. And they're like, you know what? Before I go back and eat that type of food again, I got to make sure I'm doing everything I can so I don't get sick and I don't get food poisoning and have that horrible experience. So they become more conscious, more aware, and they do things to protect themselves so that they can make smarter, healthier choices and decisions. And that's how it works for these guys. So ultimately, these guys get to a point where it's like, okay, that's what I want. Don't want to be married, don't want to be in a relationship if it's not going to be with the right woman. So what these guys say to themselves is, okay, how do I know what the right woman is? Who is the right woman? Because they know it's not just about, hey, how you look. It's not about your dress size. It's not about any of that stuff. Yes, that guy says, of course he wants to be attracted to you. Just like, don't you want to be attracted to the man you want to share your life with? There has to be some base level of attraction. But to this emotionally healthy, relationship ready guy, it's like, you know what? Looks open up the door. Yeah, gotta be attracted to you. But it's the essence of who you are, how you're living your life, and how you're showing up in my life as a relationship ready man, ready for commitment man. That's what really matters. So some of the things that these guys look for is they're looking for an emotionally healthy woman, right? At this stage, a lot of women have been burned, have been hurt, have had their hearts ripped out, have been betrayed, have been with men who lied, who misrepresented themselves, who made them a promise on a wedding day and then didn't live up to the promise. And that's affected a lot of women emotionally, and rightfully so. But some of these women haven't healed, haven't done the work, or instead of doing the work, would rather blame their ex and project all of the problems and all of the pain onto him instead of taking that mirror time and looking at the role they may have played. Again, that's not to blame. Taking responsibility for the role one plays in a relationship doesn't mean taking blame. It doesn't mean blaming yourself. And I see a lot of women who equate taking responsibility as it's being their fault. Okay, so I'm not saying that at all. So what I want you to understand is that these guys look for someone who's emotionally healthy. Right? They're looking for a woman who is in her divine feminine and truly has an open heart. Right? To these guys who are commitment ready and who are emotionally healthy, they know that there are a lot of women who have walls up. Now, at this stage, again, these guys have dated, they've been in relationships. They know that for some of these women, these walls are impenetrable. They don't blame a woman for having walls up because they know how their brothers work, right? But what they say is, and what they've learned and experienced is that no matter how much they love a woman, no matter how much they do, if she has emotional walls that she has not healed, she has not faced or dealt with or overcome, then the guy knows that, you know what, no matter what I say or do, it's not going to make a difference. And so at this stage, again, because the blinders are on, they're like, you know what, hey, that's great. I'm sorry you feel that way, but this isn't going to work for me. It's going to be too much work for me to be in a relationship where you don't trust me because of what some other guys do. Okay. And again, I'm just giving you this perspective to help you on your journey. Right? Now, what they also look for is someone who is capable of a deep partnership, right? Someone who's able to give love and receive love. And that's so important because if you're going to be in a committed partnership, I say it's like a tennis match where it goes back and forth. You got to give and you got to receive. You got to give and you got to receive. Right? That's how it works. And these guys know that. And so if it's a relationship where one person is giving, giving, giving and not getting back, or the other person is taking, taking, taking and not getting back. These guys know it's not going to work. And so why enter into something like that or commit to something like that if it's not going to be the healthy relationship and partnership that he's looking for in his heart? I hope this is making sense. I hope it's landing. He's also looking for a woman who is grounded in who she is, right? Where she knows her worth. She knows her value, right? She has self-esteem. She has healthy boundaries. She's not looking to settle because she's been there and done that. She values her true, authentic self. And that's how she shows up. She doesn't need a man. He's not looking for a woman who needs a man, because these relationship ready guys, a woman like that is desperate and needy. She's not looking for the right man. She's looking for a man so she can fill a void in her life, so she doesn't have to feel lonely or doesn't have to deal with her insecurities or whatever else may be there, right? It's like a Band-Aid. And again, these relationship ready guys, they see this, they know this, they've experienced this, and they don't want any part of it. And the most important thing is that he has to know that there is room in her heart and in her life. You want a quality man who's relationship ready is pursuing a woman, and he's putting in the effort, and that woman isn't making time for him. She isn't opening her heart. Sooner or later, he's going to get to the point and says, you know what? This is too much work. I'm not getting what I need from this woman, from this relationship. I'm not happy. And then that man just walks away, because it's not going to be the relationship, the partnership. And again, that's what the quality relationship ready guys are looking for. They're looking for that true partner in a woman. Okay. Now, this is kind of what goes through his mind on his journey, his divine love journey. Now, once he understands that, he kind of knows what he's looking for, and he's putting himself out there. He's going on dates, and he's putting himself in position to meet that kind of woman, maybe going online, which is really the number one place at this stage of life for most people to meet. There's, the bar days are usually over, the club days are usually over. Really not a lot of places to go where you're single at this age. So these guys, a lot of them go online, not because they want to, because they feel they kind of have to. There's like no other place, but they just look at it as a form to meet women. Like that's all they look at it as. Okay, here's a place where I can go to meet the kind of women. But they're on their game. Again, they're not wasting time. They're gonna find a woman. They're gonna reach out to her. They're gonna start conversations. They're gonna ask her out on a date. Like they're gonna pursue a woman, right? These guys do not want to play games. Like that's the number one thing. One of the biggest complaints I hear all the time is guys aren't really serious. They really don't want to put in the effort. And yeah, those are the guys who are not ready for a committed relationship. They're not emotionally available, emotionally healthy. They're too selfish, or they've been damaged, they've been hurt, and they've put up their walls. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about those guys who truly are in a place where, yeah, I got a wonderful life. I've got a blessed life, but I really want someone to share it with, because they're relationship guys. They love being in a relationship. They enjoy being in a relationship. They don't want to date 10 million women. They don't want to sleep with 10 million women. That's those guys. These guys over here, they're like, no, if I'm with the right woman and we have an amazing sex life and we have an amazing friendship and we have amazing bond and we have amazing connection, amazing communication, why do I need to go find another woman? I'm getting everything I need from this one. That's exactly how I feel about my wife, right? Is that she gives me everything I need for me to be happy, right? She is the right lid to my pot. And so why do I go, what is another woman going to give me that my wife isn't already giving me? And that's how it is for these relationship ready guys, right? That's what they're looking for. They're looking for the right lid for their pot. So they're very clear, they're very intentional. They're going to put the effort in, and that's what separates them from those other guys. So I believe if you're with a guy and you're questioning if he's really interested in you, you're making you a priority. If you're a priority in his life, well, my experience has shown me is that he's not the right guy for you. Now, we all have free will. If you want to invest your time and energy hoping that one of those guys will turn into a man who's relationship ready, who now is ready for a committed partnership, who's ready, who's going to learn how to put in the effort, you can. God bless. But my philosophy is that isn't it better to go find the guy who already is emotionally healthy, who is emotionally available, who is ready, willing, and able to commit right now? I see so many women, God bless their hearts, where they invest in guys, hoping that things are going to change, convincing themselves because they focus on the wonderful qualities that they see, but they don't see the whole picture. And they rationalize and they justify. And in defense, if this has ever happened to you, there are some guys who misrepresent themselves, who talk a good game. They say one thing or do another, or they're inconsistent. They'll say one thing and do another. And then very often I see a lot of women like, oh, but he does this. I'm like, yeah, he does. But what about the other thing he does? And how he's not showing up and he's not being honest. He's not making you a priority. Like if you're going to look at a man or be with a man, you have to look at all of them, how he shows up consistently day to day, not just inconsistently, and only focusing on the good that you want to see because you're afraid to see it all. And from my experience, what I've seen is very often women don't want to see the true picture, because if they see the reality of who this guy is and how he's not the right guy, they have to let him go. And very often there's a fear that, I might not find somebody else. I might not find somebody better. This might be as good as it gets. And so they talk themselves into continuing to stay with the man who isn't the right man, who isn't the man who can show up and love you the way you deserve to be loved. So that's how this kind of guy shows up. Now, once he's out there and he finds the kind of woman that he believes is the right woman, again, he's going to show up. He's going to pursue you. If he meets you online, he's not going to wait 3 months of texting before he asks you out. Because again, he doesn't want to waste the time. So when he meets you, he's going to want to talk to you. He's going to want to ask you out. He's going to want to go on a date. And if he goes on a date and he wants to go on another date, he's going to let you know. He's not going to say, okay, I'll call you, and call you 4 weeks later. He's going to make it clear that, you know what, hey, I had a good time. I'd like to see you again. Right? And then he's going to call you and he's going to tell you that he's going to call. And then he's going to follow up. He's going to keep his word. He's going to keep his agreement. And so there's going to be no doubt. There's going to be no question, because that's how he shows, because that's who he is. It's his innate masculine nature, his loving essence, his identity as a quality man, right? So no doubts, no questions. That's how he shows up. Now, again, you never have to doubt. You never have to question, right? Now, once he says to himself that, hey, this is a woman I'm interested in, and he's putting in the effort and he's showing, he takes the lead, because that's what these masculine men do. They take the lead because that's who they are, not because they're better. There's a lot of, the word I'm looking for. There's a lot of confusion about masculine, the word masculine. Masculine doesn't mean this like, testosterone-driven, arrogant SOB, right? Like she's really masculine. It doesn't mean that. It's a man who knows his true divine essence as a man. Like he knows who he is. And he lives consistently from that energy, because it's who he is and who he wants to be. Right? So that's the kind of guy I'm talking about. Right? So when he is interested, he's going to put in that effort. because ultimately he wants to. It's for him. I don't know if you remember the television show Friends. I loved Friends back in the day, and it was a character Joey, and there was an episode where it was called The Unselfish Act, and the whole premise was Joey was saying that it was Joey and Phoebe was saying there's no such thing as an unselfish act. And he goes, no, it's true. He's like, and he would try and do things. But the premise was that when we do things, there's a selfish component. We do it for a reason. And that's how these guys are, is that ultimately if he's showing up and he's loving on you, or he's honoring you and taking you out and taking you to dinner and all that, yes, he's doing it for you, but ultimately there's a payoff to him for doing that, right? And the same thing, if you do for a man, you do that from your heart, right? But when you're loved and you're appreciated and that love is returned and you get it back, don't you feel wonderful? Right? That's that give and take that I talked about earlier. Well, that's how these guys are. So that's how they show up. And that's what they say themselves, right? So when they're out there, they're looking for that woman that they can admire and respect. He says to himself, this is a woman who loves and accepts me for who I am. See, one of the big things that these emotionally ready guys who've been out there, they see all the time is a woman who's trying to change them, who's trying to emasculate them, who's trying to make them be somebody else other than who they are. I can promise you this. Those quality men say, I want a woman who loves and accepts me for who I am. I remember when I was single, before I met my wife, there was this thing called the rules, and about you have to play games and don't call somebody after so many days because you seem desperate or needy and all this other. And I'm like, this is BS. I said, I want to be myself, and I want someone who's going to love and accept me for who I am. And if someone can't love and accept me for who I am, well, then they're the right person. And that's how these guys are. That's how they want to show up. And so when a woman loves and accepts them for who they truly are without trying to change them, right? Someone who sees them and who gets them, that sends that little message in his head like, this is the one. This is the type of woman I'm looking for, right? And ultimately, when he sees all of this and he experiences all this, and in his heart and in his mind, he realizes that this is the right woman. Even though all these other women are out there, this is the right woman for me. She is the icing on the cake of my life. See, because that's how this guy looks at it. He looks at his life as a cake. He wants to do everything he can to make his life as wonderful as it can be. But he knows it can be even better by having someone to share it with. And so to him, having that loving, committed partner is the icing on his cake. And I hope and I pray that you feel the same way about the presence of a man in your life, is that you doing your best to create the best life possible. And you're not looking for a man to complete you. You're looking for a man to complement your life, to take it to a different level, just like icing on the cake. A good cake is wonderful, but it's a great cake when it's got great icing. And that's how these guys roll. Okay? So this is what I hope for you to get and understand. And the biggest differential is that these guys, completely different than those guys. These guys don't want to play game. They're not into drama. They'll put in the time. They'll put in the effort. They'll show you that you're a priority. They'll include you in their life. And they're going to love you, honor you, and respect you the way you deserve and you desire. Because see, that's who these guys are. That's how they want to show up in life. That's who they want to be as a man. That's how they feel good about themselves. And when that guy shows up and he's loving on you and you appreciate him and you communicate and love and do all those things that a healthy partner does, that guy's going to go, you're the one I want to be with. So please, please, please understand these guys are out there. They are looking for someone special, for an amazing woman to share their life with. And your job is to be that woman and then put yourself in position to attract that kind of guy, to meet that kind of guy. And I know some of you are going, yeah, but I am that woman now. How do I meet that guy? And I wish I could tell you that there's this magical place where all the quality guys, all the guys who are emotionally healthy and ready for commitment all hang out, but that would be a lie. It doesn't exist. So I say that's good news and bad news, because the good news is they are out there. Right? They are looking for a woman like you. And what I know to be true, not what I think to be true, what I know to be true, is when you are doing your part and you are in a place where you are ready to receive that guy, God, the universe, divine source, whatever you want to call that almighty, all loving, all knowing power, will create the opportunity for your paths to cross. That doesn't mean you sit on your bum and do nothing. You've got to put yourself, because that's part of putting yourself in position to receive one of those guys. I see so many amazing, wonderful women who are just like, well, if it's God's will, it'll happen. And I believe God's going, look, my dear, it is my will, but you have free will. So I can't force you to get off your butt. I can't force you to put yourself in position to become a vibrational match. That's your journey. That's your job. Because if we have to be really, really honest, that's how all of this works. It all comes down to being a vibrational match to receive the man that you're looking for. And when you are where you need to be, he shows up. And when he shows up, you will know it and he will know it. And then you will build a great, amazing, beautiful, loving future together. But if either one of you are at different places, you're not going to meet. And more importantly, if you're not where you need to be, you're going to attract the wrong guys. But see, I believe that's a gift, because all those wrong guys are showing up. You think it's happening to you. That's the divine saying, no, it's happening for you. I'm trying to get your attention. I'm trying to make you notice that there are things you need to see and change before I can send that guy to you. And that happened to me, but in a different way. In my life, when I was single, I was meeting the wrong women, right? Because I wasn't where I needed to be. And that ultimately led me to getting into a relationship, getting engaged to the wrong woman for the wrong reasons. I talked about that journey. And then I learned from that mistake. I made the changes. And not that long after making the changes, the love of my life showed up. It wasn't a coincidence. I was the same guy that I've been before. But I shifted things internally. I made those changes. And that's when I was truly ready to receive the relationship that I wanted. And the key is, before that, I was a relationship guy. I like being in relationships. I grew up in a household where my parents had a very healthy relationship. They loved each other. They worked together. It was a good role model for me. Grew up in a big Italian family where lots of cousins, lots of aunts, lots of uncles, lots of love. And so even though I had all of that around me, I still had to go on my journey. I still made bad choices or decisions. I was attracted to the wrong women for the wrong reason, until that expensive learning lesson, that I call it, which was the engagement that worked out that didn't work out with my ex. But I am so grateful for that, because it woke me up. It made me see what I needed to change. And then it put me in position to receive the love that I believe that we're all created for. So I'm going to end on this. If you have a desire in your heart, I believe that means you were created to experience that. I believe that desire in your heart comes from somewhere. That, again, whatever you want to call it, whatever name you put on the divine source that was given to you. It was a gift to say, this is what you were created. This is what is meant for you. But again, you have free will. So whether you experience that or not has more to do with you and the choices and decisions that you make, the things you do, the things you don't do, which also put you in that position to receive the love and the man that you desire. So if you have that desire in your heart, I believe you're meant to experience. But this is the part of the journey where you have to step up and make those changes. Now, I know sometimes it gets difficult, And sometimes it gets overwhelming, frustrating, confusing, demoralizing, depressing. Trust me, I get it. But that's why I do this, is to share these things with you to help make your divine love journey a little easier, a little more enjoyable. But I know you may have questions. So if you're watching this live and you want to, have a question, you can feel free and go post it. If you are watching this after tonight, tomorrow, the next day, next week, next month, even next year, and you have a question, just go ahead and put it in the box. I ultimately read them all, and I will respond in a way that may be able to shine some light for where you are in your journey. So that being said, if you do, before I wrap it up, if you do have any questions, just go ahead and put it in the chat, and then I will respond. And if not, that's cool too. Again, this is our first one. For those of you who did show up, I'm so honored and grateful to spend this time with you. I hope you received a lot of value from it. And I'd love to get your feedback. If it resonated with you, what part did resonate, you can, reach out privately, send me a message. And if there are other things that you want to see or hear covered in these live streams, feel free to reach out because I'm here for you. All right. So it looks like no questions, which is cool. That means I did a great job. Now, seriously, love and appreciate you all. Wish you nothing but the best. I'm here to support you in any other way. And I'll see you next time. Much love. I'm going to find out how to shut this off. Okay, let's see if this does. I'll shut this off. Try this.